All right, so I've given the rules for Warfighter PMC a good going over. I've talked about some things with Kevin, as some of y'all have seen, hopefully. And now it's time to set up my own company, which is what I've done. I have a sole proprietorship company, and it is called Backwater. And they're based in Texas. How convenient. This is a sole proprietorship, so I'm going to start with $150,000 in my bank account, which I've got here. And then I've already hired my soldiers, so I know how much they're going to cost me, in addition to the things that I've gotten. So I'll go over my crew first, because it affected some of the decisions that I made for my other purchases or acquisitions, if you will. So I decided to take 2-player soldiers, and the reason I did that is so I can do 2 contracts a month if good contracts come up. If not, if I get just one, then I could always run 2-player soldiers on a mission, though I've never done that before. And I went a little heavy on overhead on the soldiers, but I think it's going to pay off, having played around with the game a little bit and seeing how bonuses kick in and things like that. So my first player soldier is Gato, and he is level 6, which means he's not going to level up at all during the game. And he is 19 resource points, which means he's $19,000 a month. That's his salary. But he's a good soldier. He's got a cover of 2. He's got a move of 4. He's got 1 combat experience, so I'm going to get to draw a card at the start of every turn for him. And he comes with either an M16A2 rifle or an AR-15. I took the M16A2 because it has the burst option. It's an all-around better gun, in my opinion, having seen some of these missions firsthand. And then he's also got IBA Light Kevlar. Now the IBA Light Kevlar is the new body armor, like we discussed in one of the other videos. And this is pretty good. It's got a heavy loadout. It's a loadout of 4, but it protects locations 4 through 12 with a cover of 3. It does, however, subtract 1 from Gato's movement value. So now it has a movement of 3, which again is a really good movement value in my opinion. And then I get that added bonus of the cover for those other locations if they do get past my cover 2. Now, one thing that I do like about Gato also is he doesn't have the to be hit keyword, which several of the other soldiers do. So that's what I've got for Gato. And then next up, my other player soldier is Matrix. He's level 5. He's a little cheaper, 13,000 a month. His movement is only 1 and his cover is only 1. But he's got an M4, which is also a burst weapon. And he also has an ACOG sight and a red dot sight. Now the ACOG sight adds 1 to his attack rolls, and the red dot adds 1 to his defeat cover rolls. Now I know there was a conversation on Facebook a while back in one of the Warfighter groups about whether or not you could have more than 1 sight on a gun. Here it is, right from the factory there at DVG. This guy's got more than 1 sight on his gun. And then he's also got the fast skill, which means he's going to get an extra action each player turn. And that's pretty good, each soldier turn. The next 2 I have are my NPSs. I took Vasquez. She costs $10,000 a month. She's got the M4 carbine as well. She could have had an AR-15. I took the M4. She's also got an ACOG sight, so that'll give her the +1 to hit. And then she is unarmored, but she has the marksman skill and the shooter skill. Those are going to boost her attack roll and her defeat cover roll. But she's B hit +1, which in addition to being unarmored isn't great. But she's got 4 wounds. That is a definite plus. My next non-player soldier is Owen. Owen's got 3 wounds. He's got the AK-74 Semi, which is also a burst weapon. And he has B hit +2 and Panic, which is one of the first negative skills on my team here. And with Panic, it says he suffers a suppress each time another soldier is downed. But if another soldier is downed, I've got bigger concerns than one being suppressed. I say that. That's probably not true. Okay, and now I'm going to get to my squad soldiers. I have Freddy, Oh, by the way, Owen is $6,000 a month. Freddie is a level 2 squad soldier. He only gets one action and only has one wound. He's got really good movement, though. And so if I can get him in there, he's got a range 0 kill value of 7. And you'll also notice he does not have the be hit keyword. So he doesn't have great cover, but there are cards to mitigate that, as we know, in the action deck. But he's got great movement, so he can get in, take out a hostile that is increasing the entrance cost for a location. Hopefully, we can keep him alive. My last squad soldier is, of course, my Corpsman, Harvey Corpsman. He gets 2 actions. He's got a range 0 kill value, but he comes with a first aid kit, light Kevlar, the Corpsman skill, but he's Fragile 2. And Fragile 2 states that he's treated as down for the remainder of the mission if he suffers a suppress or a wound. So if he's suppressed, he's out of the mission. If he's only got one wound, if he takes a wound, he's killed. Hopefully we can keep him alive too and give him a little chance to level up. Now, if he's cost is $1,000 or $1,000 a month. So if you're keeping track of those numbers, that is $51,000 a month in soldier salaries. I know that seems high, but I think it's okay because looking at the way these contracts work out and these missions when they go off, there's a chance to make some real money and cover that overhead. Now, I want to talk about the rest of my overhead. I am a sole proprietorship company. Now, I had to take an office as opposed to a small office because it says here on that card that it's required. This card will support a combined soldier card overhead cost of $100,000. This lesser office would not support more than $50,000, and my soldiers came in at $51,000. So that's why I'm taking the office, which has $6,000 overhead. And then I didn't take any other office enhancements that boosted things. I have no lobbyist. I'm self-lawyering. I'm self-marketing. Hopefully word of mouth will get us those contracts. For my compound, I had to take a regular compound as opposed to the small one because the small one only hosts 4 soldiers. This one will house up to 8 soldiers. And since I have 6, I fell above the 4 soldier mark. Now this has an enhancement cost of $6,000, which is going to matter here in just a minute. Its overhead is only 3. Now I took an infirmary because that'll help me heal my soldiers. You can heal up to 4 soldiers at the end of each week, and it gives you the numbers there to roll. I took no command center. That means I'm going to gain 1 less hero point each mission. In exchange for that, it's got a negative ×1 enhancement cost. The enhancement value on my compound is $6,000. So I'm essentially eating the cost of my $6,000 overhead office by having no command center out in the field. Hopefully that won't affect me too bad. Those are all of my monthly expenses. So those came out to $54,000. $3,000 for my compound. I would be paying $6,000 for the office, but having no command center saves me $6,000. I also bought a license. I took the federal firearm license as required. Everybody gets it for free. But I also went ahead and took the automatic weapons license. That's $50,000 up front, but it's going to give me the ability to at least suppress more often than I would doing semi-automatic single shots, as I have experienced playing through this game a couple of times. There can be a lot of reticles, a lot of hostiles on the board, so being able to suppress is definitely something I want to do. Now, in addition to purchasing the automatic weapons license for $50,000, I purchased 2 pieces of equipment. I purchased a K-bar knife, and I also purchased a pistol, the M1911 pistol. And I can assign these to my soldiers. These are company inventory, so I can assign them to my player soldiers when they go out as I see fit. Now, the M1911 has the self-defense keyword, which might come in perfect with situations where my lower guys are going to be getting targeted. I can suppress those attacks by expending an ammo. And then the K-bar knife, the reason I took the K-bar knife is if I do get in hand-to-hand for 1, but it also starts with 2 XP. And the pistol starts with 1 XP. And I haven't seen anything contradicting it, so I'm going to play that as you start each mission with that XP amount until I get a chance to clarify that. I'm going to play it in my favor, which isn't something I normally do. So that puts me down to $53,000 that I have spent before I even get started. But you don't deduct any money until the first month. Now, the next thing I need to go over are who my competitors are. And my competitors are Slavacorp. They have a bidding roll of 8+, so they're not going to be in contract bidding too much. But if it says here that if you drop out of the bidding while they're still bidding, you remove any one of your soldiers from the campaign. Unfortunately, you don't get to pick who your competitors are. That's who I drew. So I definitely have to make sure that I don't let them stay in a contract when I didn't. And then the other one is Zeus Defense. Now they have a bidding roll of 5+, so they want the money. It says here if you fail to complete a contract, then you add 1 random competitor to the campaign. So if I have a contract fail, for whatever reason, I'm going to add a 3rd competitor. Then if it happens again, I'm going to add a 4th competitor. Now that is the setup process. So let's look at what happens at the beginning of the month, in the first month. That's what we're going to do here. We're going to bid on some contracts. We're going to pay our overhead costs. And then we'll get ready to take on our first encounters, assuming they come up. So at the first of the month, the first thing that you do is you hire new personnel or you make adjustments to your compound. Then you make any new purchases. So we're going to assume at the first of the month that the automatic weapons license and that K-bar and that M1911 are new purchases. So I'm going to take my $150,000 and subtract 53 from it. And that's going to leave me with $97,000. Feel free to check my math. So I'm going into business in Iraq, got $97,000 in the bank. Now, I've never had a job where they paid me at the start of the month, but apparently that's how they pay at DVG. So, next process is to pay my overhead costs. And you keep these counters over here to represent your overhead cost. So you can be reminded, and my overhead cost is $51,000 for my soldiers, and then another $3,000 for my compound, because I'm saving on the office by having no command center. So that gives me an overhead of $54,000. So I'm immediately going to take $54,000 out of my bank account. I took 60. I got 6 and change. So let's see. Starting at the beginning of the month, I have got $43,000 left in the bank. I have to make money this month or I'm not going to make overhead, and game over. So the next step is to bid on contracts. So let's go over how the bidding works. I'm going to draw 3 contracts. One is a facilities patrol, one is facilities protection, and the other is local VIP protection. Now, all of these are 4-week contracts. They're 1-month contracts. Now, the local VIP protection has an engaged bonus of $50,000. So anytime an engagement happens, I get to immediately put $50,000 in the bank. Facilities protection has an engaged bonus of $20,000. And the facilities patrol has an engaged bonus of $15,000. They all have failure consequences of -1 to your reputation. And 2 of these say that I must assign at least 1 vehicle each week or fail. So I'm not going to be able to do either one of these contracts. which means I've got to only bid on the VIP protection. I don't have vehicles. I've already gone through the phase where I would purchase or hire vehicles, so I'm stuck there. There's nothing I can do about it this month, but I will make a note to myself to get an SUV next month. So the only contract I can bid on and actually complete is the local VIP protection. If I succeed, my reputation's +1, and I add one random competitor to the campaign. Well, that's not really a reward if you ask me. I'm sure they have a reason for it. I'm going to bid on this. Let's get those contractors out there too so I can see what they do. And the way bidding works is each contractor has a number. That a bidding number. For Slavacor, it's 8+. So if I roll an 8 or higher for Slavacor, then they'll stay in for another round of bidding, and we'll go over how that works. Essentially, the contract will become less lucrative for each round of bidding. So Slavacor, I roll a 6. They're out of the bidding. They're not interested in that. Now Zeus Defense is a 5+. And so they're going to stay in the bidding if they get a 5 or better. I actually got a 2, so that worked out great. I can get this contract for its full value of $30,000. So I'm going to place 3 $10,000 counters on that contract to remind me just how much it's worth. Now, since that's my only contract, I can pretty much assign any and everybody to it. And I might as well, because that's not going to affect the resource value of the hostiles that I face in the contract or in the encounters as they come up. So let's go ahead. We're going to mark that as contract 1. I'm going to take the matching token and I'm going to put it on week 4 because I'm going to count down each week that I play for each month. This is month 1. Count down each week of the contract. That way I'll know when it's expired. Now for each contract, they have a threat level. Now, you have to roll that number or less to meet the threat value. If you roll less than the number on the card, then you have an engagement, and then you're going to randomly pick an engagement from the missions type. The missions type for this is VIP. So let's go ahead and get rid of these contracts because they are not in play. I am assigning everybody to this contract. All 6 of my PMCs are assigned to this contract. So I'm going to roll the D10 for the first week and see what happens. I actually got a 3. So with a roll of 3, I'm going to have my first engagement. Now, had I not met that threat level, I would have added an escalation counter to that card, which would, and they're random, you draw one randomly. This one, for example, says you subtract 4 from your die roll, you increase the RP value of the hostiles by 20, but you gain an additional hero point. Of course, that didn't happen this time. We're just doing it straight up. Now, for the VIP missions, there are 4 separate missions, and we're going to randomly select one of these missions here. It is VIP Roadblock. A VIP convoy is stopped by a roadblock and ambushed in the middle of Baghdad. You must reach the VIPs and lead them to safety. This is a raid mission. It has an entrance cost of 0, of course, because it's a mission. A hand-to-hand of 2. You get 12 turns. Your objective is an objective number 5. You use Baghdad locations. And, of course, you use the Middle East militants. Now, the hostiles have 40 points is their RP value. So with my full squad of 6 soldiers coming in at 51 RP in comparison, this shouldn't be too hard a mission to undertake. Now, it does say, there's additional text, lead the VIPs. After entering the objective card, select 1 soldier each turn to lose 1 action. And that's because he has to focus on getting the VIPs out of the dangerous situation. So there we have it. Month 1, we've had our first hit on our contract, and our contract says when you're engaged, there's a $50,000 bonus. So I immediately take $50,000 and I put it in the bank, and now I can make overhead. I'll get the mission ready, and we will run our first PMC mission coming up in the next video.